Very interesting forest bramble, spiny climber, rather a creeper. Leaves are typically multi-nerved. There are 5 veins, midrib, and then 2 pair of side veins. Leaf shape is also typically cordate, heart-shaped leaf. And when we look towards the leaf, this is not a dull leaf, rather it is shining green. And one is confused and one is tempted to name it as Dioscorea. But it is not Dioscorea, as it has the thorns. In mostly, rather in all Dioscoreas, we don't have prickles or spines. They are thornless. But this particular bramble is spiny, armed with thorny stem modifications. Another unique character in this particular bramble climber is the presence of thread-like tendrils. This is a character which we mostly encounter in the family gourd family, Cucurbitaceae. If we see the plants of Karela, Lauki, Kia, Kandoli, Koshataki, that is Lufa or Cucurbita or Lagenaria, then we find these tendrils. But in this unique climber, if we examine the flower, then flower is typically a monocot flower. So the Cucurbitaceae family is a dicot family. So this plant, this bramble, like Dioscorea, is a monocot. Monocot means seed has single embryonic cotyledon. Not two, but single. Monocot. But this has its distinguishing morphology and stands placed in its own family, which is named as Smilaccaceae, whereas Dioscoreas are placed in Dioscoreaceae. Even fruit is different in Dioscorea and Smilax. This bramble belonging to Smilaccaceae is kept in the genus Smilax. In case of Dioscorea, the fruits are winged capsules. Whereas in this case, in Smilax, they are berries. And on maturation, either they are brilliant red or they are black, or sometimes they may be blue. Dioscorea is known for diasgenin. And this Smilax also has one species named as Smilax minispermoidea, which contains the diasgenin. A phytochemical which is used for the synthesis production of steroid hormones used in the manufacture of contraceptive pills. So this plant is unique and native to Himalayas. And this creeper, because of thorny nature, is known as bramble. And the stems are typically green all along from the ground up to the tip, shoot tip. We have only the green color of the stems. So this is called in English as green briar or green briar. And because of the thorny nature, it is also known as cat briar. Cat briar. And we must have heard very important Chinese drug medicine under the name sarsaparilla. So this plant in Hindi, sometimes also known as salsa or sarsa. Parilla means grape-like, as its fruits, when they mature, they grow in clusters, bunches, and they are typically brilliant red, as we find in some cultivars of wild grapes, Mambaran. So this particular creeper or climber has been sourced from the Dhanas forest, Udhampur forest division, and local people identify this bramble as Kaldam. Its use as known to the local communities is seasonal vegetable. When the new leaf growth, new shoots emerge, they are harvested and they are consumed either raw or cooked as a substitute of asparagus. Asparagus is shatavar, and asparagus is very culturally significant plant, as shatavar is also one of the Durga's Siddhi Dhatri. Siddhi Dhatri is associated with asparagus. So these tender shoots, tendrils, and the young leaves, they also have some taste like that of asparagus. But this is not asparagus, this is Smilex. And species identified is Smilex aspera. But most popular plant which is used for the manufacture of sarsaparilla, that is derived from the rhizome or root of the allied species, also native to Indochina region, found in China usually, that is either the Smilex china, popularly named as China root, or another species Smilex glabra, also known as chobe chini or chobe chini. So we can call this creeper, bramble, Kaldam, as jungly chobe chini. So this is Smilex aspera, is edible, it is medicinal, and also deeply adored or mentioned in the Greek mythology. As per Greek mythology, two lovers, one handsome looking crocus and another woodland nymph named Smilex. And it is said that lover of crocus, Hermes, they were playing athletics and then discus got hit to the head of crocus. Thereby, he had the instant death. Other story version still says he died because of some other happening or accident, whatever. So, Smilex was cursed because the love affair between Crocus and Smilex was not accepted to the gods and goddesses. So, Smilex was punished to be born as a bramble, as a thorny bramble. So one cannot embrace it. Lover cannot embrace its shoots, its stems, because of the thorny nature. And the crocus we know today as kesar or saffron, still when we see the bloom, that is the purple love with three blood like streams flowing from the body of that flower, because when crocus was hit, so he had that three blood lines which transformed into three stigmas which we collect, harvest and trade as a spice. This is culled down. Leaves can be cooked as vegetable or can be innovated as evening tea snacks, and it can also be innovated as a sarsaparilla sauce or smilex sauce or kaldaun di chutney. This unique liana, rather it becomes woody. So this is not only creeper climber, it becomes a woody vine. There are some species of smilex like Smilex herbaceae, which is deciduous and herbaceous. But this one, which I have got from the Udhampur hills, is Smilex aspera, which is quite evergreen. It has medicinal benefits as mentioned in Ayurveda. The root extract has been found efficacious against cancer therapy. It is also useful in the treatment of tuberculosis. It is hepatoprotective. It is good for blood-related ailments. Moreover, this Smilex aspera kaldaun has also found efficacy in the treatment of Hansen's disease, the leprosy, eczema, skin ailments. And if we consume its vegetable, it provides glow to the skin. For skin care, this is one of the popular forest vegetable, which is seasonal, but you can dry it and keep it for future use. Flowers are white and they are odorous. Sometimes one feels it is malodorous. But there are some other species of Smilex which are really carrion fly attracting flowers because of their malodorous smell. So, some Smilex species are named after carrion flies as carrion flowers. But here, this one is not carrion flowering vine, Smilex, not in that category. World over, there are more than 350 species. And in Himalayas, we have Smilex aspera, tropical, subtropical belt. And then higher ups, we have another species which is called as Smilex parvifolia. Third one, Smilex virginata, which grows in alpine situations and the birch rhododendron forests. There are plants which are grown even in the gardens, the garden ornamental for the handsome foliage, for example, Smilex rotundifolia, Smilex zalanica. The name Smilex was of that woodland nymph. She brought smile on the face of crocus, but ultimately they departed. So it has now got thorny nature. So it cannot be embraced. So nothing to smile. though the name is Smilex. It can bleed our lower limbs if one gets entangled in the thickets of Smilex. Now, Smilex usually inhabits the deep shady ravines near flowing streams, marshy locations. As the vegetable is thermogenic, it creates kind of heat. So it should not be consumed in larger quantities. Moreover, when you boil it, the first water after boiling need to be discarded, and then you can consume it as vegetable. Smilex aspera is lesser known forest vegetable. Many people, they can't even identify whether it is Smilex or Dioscorea. And it is really the local people, ethnic people, nomadic people, the people who are inhabiting the forests or they are residing very near to the forests. They are familiar with this kind of forest resource which can be sustainably exploited for health benefits as well as for nutritional boost. In fact, Smilex China or Smilex glabra find huge market in the Chinese system of medicine. This Smilex is also mentioned in the American Pharmacopoeia, and seasonal vegetable is recommended to be cooked, consumed or innovated during month of April, late March or early April or mid-April. After that, the leaves and shoots, they become hardened, sclerenchymatous, and not easy to cook, so it is better to avoid. So only tender shoots are recommended for consumption purpose. Number of stamens is 6, and these brambles or Smilex, they are mostly dioecious. That is, male and female plants are separate. So you don't have the distinction into sepals and petals. Rather, these are tepals. So perianth lobes is also 6. So this is a trimerous flower, a feature which is typical of any monocot flower. Even in tulips, we have the trimerous flower symmetry, as the tepals are 3 plus 3. 3 outer burr corresponds to calyx, 3 inner burr correspond to petals, but they are not called as sepals and petals, rather as tepals. And similar is the floral architecture even in Smilex. Multi-nerved leaf cordate shape. So this bramble, when we talk about Greek mythology, it also teaches some lessons of broken love affair. Sometimes there's no compatibility, as crocus and Smilex got separated. And if there's no compatibility, no reason in continuing that affair. Though it is seasonal, but under the Indian Biodiversity Act, when local people prepare the People's Biodiversity Register, they mention the local ethos, the forest vegetable like casarod. Casarod is Diplegium esculentum, which is also a forest vegetable. Then kachanar in Jammu Shivalex, that is Bahonia variegata, which is also harvested and innovated as a raita, even as pickle, and even for other innovations. We have some acacia species, for example, indigofera, Acaciides is kathi. Flowers are used But even Cassia Festula, few days back, just we celebrated Vishu festival in Kerala. And Vishu Kani, a kind of tree is prepared, which is to be seen for the first when you get up on the day of Vishu. The way Kashmiri Pandits have their thali on the first day of Navratra. Similarly, Malayali people have that Vishu Kani. And in that Vishu Kani, they have the sopari, arecanut, they have the coconut, but then the flowers of Cassia Fistula, Indian laburnum, amaltas, karangal, they find religious and cultural significance. And even in Jammu, the seed of Kannikonam, as the plant is called in Malayalam language, and karangal in Dogari, seeds were once used in the kalira making inside the copra to fasten the thread. And even the flowers are edible, they are consumed. And even the pod, ripened pod, they have the brown pulp which is consumed to treat constipation. And yes, even this bramble, Smilax aspera, is useful against constipation, against fistula. This is useful in the treatment of wounds, especially the roots. Roots can be harvested, they can be powdered, and they are useful in the wound healing. Fruits are edible. Ripe fruits can be made into jellies. Since they are blood red, they are useful for enhancing the hemoglobin content of the body. And even the fruits are useful for urinary related troubles, kidney ailments. So this is a reputed medicinal bramble, but popularly named as green briar because of the green stem, also named as the cat briar because of cat paw-like thorny nature of its stems, and it also have the message of love in its heart shape. Leaves, but troubles are always there. No smooth troubles in this life. So that hidden armor nature of this bramble is also mentioned in folklore, whether in Greece, whether in India, Himalayas. So if we tell these stories or tree tales or plant tales to the younger minds, I think the kids will take interest in listening to the plant, bird, butterfly stories. And once they get this kind of nurture, education at the young stage, they will develop more love, affection, and reverence towards nature. They will not be greedy, they will not be destructive, or rather, they will remember the love stories of crocus and smilax, or for that matter, Adonis and Apollo, or Narcissus and Daffodil. So there are several stories which our forefathers have imagined. They have interpreted nature in diverse ways. So we have very interesting stories connected to flowers, trees, brambles, flowers, birds, and other creatures like cheetal heron. So Biodiversity Day, International Day for Biological Diversity, is celebrated each year on 22nd May. So this year also we will be celebrating and focusing on biodiversity. But before 22nd May, we will be celebrating World Earth Day, Janani Dharti Maa ka Divas, World Earth Day, Prithvi Divas, celebrated, observed each year on 22nd April. So let us collect new information to rejuvenate our minds. We should not teach younger students and scholars the same often repeated slogans, same knowledge, but we should add something new. And if you have that kind of intention to discuss some new topics or biodiversity from a new perspective, then we need to include indigenous knowledge. The plants and animals, the way they have been interpreted by our forefathers and the way they are imagined or told in the plant stories, as we have the stories of Ake Pake, Mani Chake, Pyokapejo. Pyokapejo is a word, short being the Himalayan cocoa, that is Cuculus micropteris. And girl who got transformed into this bird was fond of eating hinsalu, golden raspberry, Rubus ellipticus, we call Akhe or Akhare in Dogri, but named hinsalu or Gauri Fal in Uttarakhand. But in Uttarakhand, the same kind of story is associated not with the Rubus ellipticus, but with another tree yielding very delicious medicinal fruit, and that is coffle, Myrica esculenta, which is also seen in Bani area, Riasi area, in Jammu region. Let us introduce such plants having mythological stories into our forest nurseries. We should equip our forest nursery with indigenous trees, indigenous lianas, indigenous medicinal shrubs, which have the local names, which have the local usages, which are connected to our history, culture, scripture, Ayurveda or Unani, and already nurtured in the thought process of our history, rather than including the plants which are exotics, which are alien to our lands. So let us celebrate this year's World Earth Day and then International Day of Biological Diversity and then World Environment Day on 5th June. With this in mind, we will nurture our own indigenous species and phase out the exotics. And let us teach our children the interesting anecdotes regarding flora and fauna of our Dogra land or Jammu and Kashmir or India as a nation.